All right, ISS community, my name is Steve Sostak. I am co-founder and director of Inspire Citizens. And welcome to the webinar for the Global Citizenship Certificate Program that is being co-sponsored by ourselves and International School Services around holistic global citizenship. And the idea that we believe holistic global citizenship is not another thing, but it can be the thing that really brings your school together. All the different initiatives and all the great work that you are doing. I feel like this is a great opportunity to share not only the work that we do at Inspire Citizens, but this awesome program. I want to introduce my colleagues today that are going to be presenting alongside and sharing and doing some meta modeling and think alouds. Scott Jameson and Ivy Yan. Scott, can I pass it over to you first?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Scott Jameson. I've been with Inspire Citizens for nearly 2 years now. My teaching background, I've been in international schools for, I want to say, the best part of 20 years as a science teacher, a math teacher, a learning support teacher, as well as a school leader in the Middle East and parts of Asia. And with Inspire Citizens, I am going to be one of the online facilitators for the Global Citizenship Certificate. I also do some work with our partner schools, with teachers, as well as some student-facing work with student leadership and change makers. And probably my favorite part of my job is I host our Empathy to Impact podcast, where I share stories from students who are engaged in taking ownership of their learning and having an impact in their communities. Ivy, over to you.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Steve, and thank you, ISS, for having us today. My name is Ivy. I actually met Inspire Citizen because of the Global Citizenship program. I did it last year, and so this year I've been co-writing, planning with Steve on this, and also I will be facilitating this program for you in the coming months, and very, very happy to bring it to more people and to explore and then practice what does it mean to be a holistic global citizen.
Awesome. And guys, that really comes down, I think, to a nice transition into our second slide. Is I think most of us are coming from schools, especially in the international school community, that in our mission statements and our visions, we talk a lot about global citizenship. And I think we have a good understanding, I think, of the why and the what of global citizenship, but sometimes that how gets a little bit tricky, right? And it can be challenging to embed tools or thinking routines, or making a little bit of enhancements in your curriculum to bring global citizenship to life. And that's where Inspire Citizens and this program comes in. And it's going to be launching. We actually moved the date slightly back. It's literally 1 month from today. And it's going to launch on October 15th. And, we can sort of start by going into all the nuances and details. But something we really wanted to do was kind of share a video from Ivy mentioned how she took the course last year, our first cohort 2 years ago. This is Ashley Hayes, and she actually created and as part of her portraiture, what we call the teacher vignette, part of the practicum experience, the application and transfer of her learning into her class and her tech integration in Jeju Island in South Korea. She's going to sort of give you an overview of the program through her words.
My name is Ashley Hayes, and I'm a middle school technology and design teacher in Jeju, South Korea. Participating in the Inspire Citizens Master Teacher Endorsement has transformed the learning in my classroom. I've been a teacher for almost 10 years, and it feels like I'm teaching content and skills that actually matter for the first time. And that's because the future of our planet and the well-being of my students are now at the forefront of learning that happens in my classroom each day. As a result of joining this cohort, I've been able to facilitate global learning experiences supported by civic literacies as students engage with issues like climate change, inequality, food security, and deforestation. I learned how to take complex global issues like these and look at them through a local lens as I design units that connect to our community. These learning experiences are aligned to my content standards, so it's not like I'm taking away from my curriculum, but instead making it more purposeful and future-focused. My students are using technology as a tool for taking informed action and making a real change. Instead of just being consumers of technology, they're using it as a force for good. Because I'm more informed about media literacy, data literacy, futures literacy, and graphicacy, my students are more deeply engaged in the world around them, and they're learning to amplify their voice to a global audience. Outside of my classroom, I've begun to see myself as a change agent and leader within my school. I've partnered with teachers in all grade levels to design interdisciplinary units. I've led the development of school-wide action projects, and I've facilitated professional development workshops to share what I've learned with Inspire Citizens. My message to future MTE participants is to show up. Show up and be the teacher our learners need. Show up by taking action and leading cultural shifts in your school. And show up to the Saturday Socratic seminars, because there's nothing more valuable than being in community and connecting with teachers and leaders from around the world.
So I think Ashley did a really nice job outlining. And just as a clarifying note, when we first started this, we called it the Master Teacher Endorsement. We've since shifted the name to Global Citizenship Certificate, mainly because I think global citizenship is just it's a more common shared language that a lot of our schools are using. So that's where that's at. So I want to just give a quick shout out to Ashley for that wonderful video. Mm-hmm. Ivy, I want to pass this back to you really briefly to talk a little bit about why we use the word holistic in concert with global citizenship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Steve mentioned, the reason we rebranded into global citizenship and as, a more common language that many schools use. But what really, we champion and believe in is holistic global citizenship. And what does it mean, as you will find out more in the following slides, that, in this program, we really want to tap into not just, the outer of global citizen, what action do you take, what skills do you have to be able to take meaningful actions, but also, very importantly, the root cause, the inner aspect of being a global citizen, things like, mindfulness, things like, compassion, especially, like engaged mindfulness, and then compassion for yourself, for your community, and, for our planet. So we really want to cultivate, those inner and outer skills that make, a true global citizen. But also, we are teachers. And so we, as an individual learner, we, there is a lot for us to learn. But also, to truly make the change, we also need to consider the system of, like all kind of system we engage, right? The school system, educational system, the society, the economy, the future, and then well-being and all that, So we will cover all these 4 aspects to shape, the holistic global citizenship program.
And you can really see that in the way that the syllabus plays out, right? We start often in our first, course, which is going to be starting on October 15th, with a lot of what we call futures thinking. We look at different types of trends and we ask ourselves the question of what does this really mean for teaching and learning? Not only right now, but as we move forward over the next, decade towards 2030 and towards hopefully both inner and outer sustainability. How is it that we can use these trends to be more agile and flexible in the way that we teach and we learn? And the second course is geared a lot towards some meta language and some resources that get us into that level, that deep caring and compassion that Ivy mentioned, where we unpack things like circular economics models. We get into holistic well-being indicators. We look at the sustainable development goals more deeply and so on, so that we can get a great palette of opportunities to get the kids into the space of making their learning more purposeful. And the last course that we'll be doing around civic literacies and civic readiness really dials into things like a lot of your research skills, critical media literacy, interviewing, data literacy, intercultural competence, mindfulness strategies, et cetera, that can get kids, into that authentic space that makes the learning more relevant, more authentic, and they actually then are taking community action and doing something, right, with what they're learning in school. And it's, that becomes that holistic piece that's so important. Scott, do you want to maybe give us a little overview of open learning and the learning management system?
So we've been using open learning. Last year was our first year with the course, and we absolutely love it. It is a great opportunity to interact with everyone in the cohort through some of the ways we can share in there. And I really love just how the course kind of flows through here. You can sort of see Steve is kind of panning through. This is going to be course 1. And we can see how we have some interactive spaces down here where we have different threads and conversations going, where you can connect with other educators in the cohorts and kind of share out about your learning in an asynchronous way on the platform. And this is a great opportunity for us as facilitators to engage in conversations about learning with everyone in the course and really dig into some of the resources and material that we're listening to and experiencing that week.
And guys, we really like... go ahead, Scott. I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
We're also partnering with Flip, Microsoft Flip this year to kind of up our engagement. And we're going to have opportunities to kind of jump in and with a video to share each week and talk a little bit about our learning and just another way we can all interact together. And despite being in different parts of the world, we kind of have some face-to-face experience.
Hey guys, what we're going to do right now for you is literally kind of meta model and do a think aloud through the flow of the courses and the modules. So as Scott mentioned, there's 3 courses and there's 7 modules inside each of the courses. And in there is a specific flow where we start with a provocation, right? To kind of get us what, we call it wake up and warm up, right? And get us into sort of the space of the theme of the week or the key concepts of the week. And then the next 2 pages generally are very practical hands-on resources that we kind of put on the student hat to engage with. And then eventually the nice thing now is just like Scott's Empathy to Impact podcast, we also have a page of over 50 or 60 vignettes and stories of what our work looks like on the ground through not only the work that we do, but our partner organizations that then we allow ourselves as learners in the space to interpret so that then eventually we can apply and transfer. And that's where we begin to share some of that in our Flip opportunities and also in our Socratic Saturday experiences if you're able to join those. So here is kind of what I was just talking about. We go through the idea of wake up, discover and experiment. We go into then interpretation, we synthesize, and then we share depending on our context. One other thing this year that's really exciting is we've identified certain, rabbit holes that you can kind of go into. We know that you guys are many of you are in-service teachers. So we want to honor that, right? There's a commitment to this global citizenship certificate, but we want to make it manageable. So there's, some baseline things that all of us will do together. And those of us that have certain interests or time to go a little bit deeper will have those extended resources. And we'll also be previewing a lot. For instance, in course 1, there's a lot of seeds that we plant that will come to fruition in course 3, and that would be in our coming soon sections. So we're just going to kind of do a little bit of a wake up activity here. And I'm going to throw this at Ivy to put on her student hat. This is actually taken from the first module of the first course. And Ivy, just, as we kind of get warmed up again to that idea of holistic global citizenship, do you want to briefly help us unpack this piece of calligraphy?
So when I look at the calligraphy piece in oneself, piece in the world, I think, the artist believes in, what we think, what we say, and what we do actually, reflect in the world. So if I, want the world to be a certain way, like desired futures, then my everyday life, my personal life, my professional life, the inner landscape of what I value, what I think, and all that needs to be aligned with the world I want to see. So I guess, this, this calligraphy has inspired me to understand the holistic global citizenship in that way.
And every module will have this type of a wake up and a warm up, right? So this again is just an idea that we'll take those 15, 20 minutes together on the first page of each module and just get ourselves into the mindset and the heart space to really move forward into the resources and into the student evidence. As we discover and experiment, just make sure you know that you're going to be getting a lot of practical tools. Like we're talking in the abstract. We want to get things in your hands that you could use immediately the following week, right? And that idea is built in throughout the course, 21 modules, 2 resources per module. The goal is, again, to get things in your hands that you can use. So for instance, in this is taken from our second module of the first course. This is a Venn diagram that we often use to launch students into things such as PYP exhibitions or any type of a personal project, even CAS projects for those of you that are IB schools. And it allows us then, to share something. Let's say we wanted to frame this around, the global goals. Well, some of us on that level 1, we know the 17 SDGs. Those of us that want to go deeper, we can start unpacking the target level, for example, of the global goals. Another resource that we may give you right away is something such as these action stems. Like, what is enhanced action? What can kids do with their learning, whether it's embedded into unit design or whether it's one of their own personal projects? And then the neat thing is when you start to connect that together, for example, you can start to see that kids can fill out this Venn diagram in a way that can map out a direction or sort of an overview, a bird's eye view of their project. Or we could use this in the way that we design our teaching and learning. So in this case, let's just hear Jake talk a little bit about his work with Vex Robotics and why it matters.
My name is Jake. I am 6 years old, almost a half. So the problem is trash in the ocean, which does is little trash in the ocean. So there's the boat that comes that has a radar. So it with the claw it picks up the trash, but that doesn't have a simple machine like this. It can't pick it up. And then it puts it in the boat, and then it takes it back to land, and then it puts it in the recycle bin. We own an axle. This is the axle, and this is the wheel and axle. It spins around, and then there's a line on it that pulls the stuff out of the ocean. Laser. Security camera, but also laser. The laser burns the trash. It's going to pick up all the trash, so there will be no more trash in the world, and then the animals won't get sick.
So you can get the idea there that this was actually a unit that was designed at Seoul Foreign School, utilizing their Vex Robotics program that trickled down all the way to the kindergarten. And instead of it just being something where the kids had an opportunity to, have the Vex experience, which is fantastic in and of itself, but then connecting it, right? And you can see here, kids were connecting it to other SDGs beyond just number 14 in this case, or the target. And they also took it to another level of then creating, this TV show for the community. So again, those little tweaks, and these types of resources that we're going to be sharing with you can really enhance your teaching and learning experience around global citizenship and sustainable development. And Scott, do you want to briefly talk about how that kind of rolls into empathy to impact, which is one of our big frameworks that everyone will be walking away with after the 3 courses?
So this is kind of our project or learning experience designing framework that we use at Inspire Citizens. And what I really love about it is it fits into a lot of other kind of pedagogies that you have. If you're an IB school, we can connect empathy to impact to the learner profile, to the different pieces there to kind of help design projects. If you're a PBL school, the same idea. We've got a partnership going with a school in Colombia right now, where we are taking their PBL model and designing service projects through the lens of empathy to impact. And really, we think about what do we really care about and why. We want to start by building empathy. When we're thinking about empathy to impact, And just like Steve's talking about, that could be through the lens of sustainable development, social justice, the well-being of our community, harmony with nature. And then we want to think about how are we going to get our students to become more aware of this issue? How are we going to dig in to these ideas? And are we going to be looking at media? Are we going to be doing interviews and talking to people? Are we going to be doing surveys and collecting data? Are we going to be doing observations? All these different kind of tools that allow us to become more aware. Able down at the bottom is where we're going to tie in what our standards and our curriculum and the amazing things we're already doing. So we're not talking about redesigning units here. We're talking about looking at a unit that already exists through a bit of a different lens to really kind of have that empathy piece at the beginning. And then, just like Steve talked about, have us doing something with our learning that's going to have an impact in our community. So thinking about how am I going to take meaningful action? And this might be connecting with a partner in the community. It might be looking at our school community. It might be looking at our local community, or it might be something a little bit bigger, depending on the scope of the project and often like the readiness of our learners. And we really want to be taking some of these amazing things that we're learning and using those in a meaningful way to make our community better.
And in the middle, you see those words, holistic global citizenship. And as Scott mentioned, whether it's learner profile or the cognitive skills and dispositions that are the transformative learning skills in your school, something that we've realized recently is we kind of play that role of trying to pull a lot of these things together. And in some of our recent partnerships, we've also been looking at what we call our holistic global citizenship profile with some of the language. Ivy's going to help us sort of put it together, and we'll look at one more example of what are some of the pieces or some of the language that we think is really critical to bring out in the learners when we talk about holistic global citizenship. And then those things can be amplified through approaches to learning and through all of the 6 C's and all of the fantastic things that we're already doing. So Ivy, I'm wondering if you could just talk us through a little bit of, we start at the center of a profile of a holistic global citizen, and tell us a little bit about how we build that.
So the way we unpack this is like a ripple effect. We start from the core. As a global citizen, there are 3 roles: the meditator, who is mindful, and then who is reflective, and then the artist, right? We often need to be very, very creative with the things we do, especially when the time is difficult. And then, warrior is, the spirit, of courage, of resilience, but also very importantly, non-violent, activism. And this is, the core of being a global citizen. But then, we then, ripple out one layer. So the key qualities we are cultivating here is true compassion, right? And then reconnection or connection. And then, a very deep understanding of, what it really is. And then, the last piece is action. So, once we have the 3 roles and then, the key qualities, we are trying to, apply them or, look at them in the lens of self, community, and planet at all time, right? So when we talk about, connection, it's not just, I do something good for my community. It has also to be, good for myself and the planet. Usually, when the 3 of them are aligned together, and that's a really, impactful action. And so, if we move one layer out, you can see, right, these are the domains, where we can apply those skills, where we can make impact, we can do something with nature, with our economy, society, well-being, but also especially in the time we live now, technology plays a big role, right? So we also need to be very mindful about technology for good. So then once you put all of them together, this becomes like the holistic global citizen profile.
And this profile, where we're going to be coming back to a lot, again, as we interpret, different elements of what's going on in the student evidence that we've, collected over the years of our work with Inspire Citizens, it's going to allow us then to start, illuminating not only through the language of, what the students are saying about their learning, but ways that we can start to see them demonstrating, and we can start collecting evidence of how it is that they are, holistic global citizens. And again, the cohort should be interesting because we will have teachers from very diverse age groups and diverse contexts that will be able to, shed light upon how these, these dispositions and these skills and this profile can show up in really unique and diverse ways. So this is just a quick interpretation. This was from a project that some of my students back at the International School of Beijing did in interviewing some of the seniors across the street in the local community. We're just going to play a quick clip. You'll see the students being able to tie it immediately to their sustainable goals. They're also going to be, demonstrating some of the things that Ivy unpacked so nicely for us. And we'll just take a quick look on how those dots kind of connect.
The prototype that we created is the Out of the Blocks Global Youth Edition. It's pretty cool seeing all these different schools come together, celebrate media, and use their skills to have a positive impact on this world. Yeah.
One of our targets is 1717, encouraging effective partnership. We worked with Out of the Blocks. We took this to a whole nother level, and now we are hosting a journalism conference in Beijing with Out of Blocks.
One of the SDG targets that we are trying to hit right now is the promotion of empowerment of women through technology. So one of the ways that we are trying to hit that goal is our version of Out of the Blocks. So as you can see here, most of the people that we interviewed were women. The other way we are trying to hit it is equality of leadership roles in our club. The majority of people in our club are young women who are developing their technology skills and interviewing skills.
So I'm going to freeze there just for the sake of time. And Ivy, I just wanted you to maybe give us a little context of this through the lens of what we just saw.
Mm-hmm. So as you hear from Christina, right, she really wants to promote and empower young women. And then, she's being very creative about this, right? Going out, interview people and then make it into a podcast. So in this way, he connects more deeply, with the local community and also, their school community of a group of young girls, right? By leveraging technology, leveraging technology. And also, by the way, Christina, when she took the video, she was in grade 6 and now she's in grade 11. And, she's been working with us, along these years. She just, facilitated with us in our eco photography summer camp. And it's really, it's really nice to work with her and see her, keep applying those skills and into more context.
Thanks, Ivy. And the last couple of things we wanted to say before we close up is just remembering that there's a synthesis point to this as well, right? We're going to be always coming back to our guided questions at the end of all of these experiences during the week. And again, these will be shared in open learning so that you're interacting consistently, getting feedback and, great opportunities to have discussions and shared conversations with other people from around the world that are taking the courses. And we will be doing some Flipgrid reflections as well as this part is optional, but it's, as Ashley in her video highly recommended that the Socratic seminars on Saturdays are just a really wonderful way for us to have Zoom conversations, which will be in different time zones to accommodate people from around the world. And just to really get to know one another, to build sort of our shared community and aspirations and intentions around holistic global citizenship. And to learn from one another. Like one thing that we also pride ourselves on with Inspire Citizens is we're always evolving. Like this is not while we have some expertise, of course, in this area, each version of this course each year, this is the 3rd year, continues to evolve based on our relationships with the people we meet in the cohort. So just knowing that it's definitely something that is a dynamic, fun, joyful experience. So we're just super excited that you guys are going to be a part of this. And Scott, are you still there or I know Scott is going on to Kohowa. So Ivy, do you want to briefly talk a little bit about then for Scott about our options with the program?
Yes, so this is probably the most important piece, right? So how you can participate in this program. So first of all, we have 3 courses and you can sign up, all of them. And you see the 4+1 special if you have 4 people doing it together, and then you get 1 free. But also, maybe as a school, you want to have your own community to do that. So we can, personalize this experience for your school as well. So just, reach out to us to see, how we can accommodate, your need and your schedule. But also, you can just take 1 course at a time and then, decide on whether you want to take the next few. And also, we have, the different modules, right? So it is also possible that, as a school community, you only want to take a few modules and then do a mix and match. So we can also cater to that need as well.
And I think that pretty much sums up with what we wanted to say today. Thanks, Ivy, for sharing that. And again, we do recommend, obviously, the full certification. You get the ISS and the Inspire Citizen stamp, but you also just get that really rich experience. We talked about early on with the 3 courses and how holistic and the toolkit that you're going to walk away with to build capacity in your school community around the work that we're doing together. But again, be open to giving us an email or a call if you have some other ideas or some specific aspirations on your campus. And I think that's it, Ivy. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you guys for being here. Those of you that are watching this, we are so excited for you to be a part of this community. And we also really want to give a shout out and thank you to ISS for being partners and seeing, the incredible value of holistic global citizenship as a through line to the future of education and the well-being of our planet. So ISS, thank you so much for everything you do. And that's it. We'll see you guys really soon. And we'll see you October 15th for the launch of the Global Citizenship Certification.
Thank you all.